Hello, everyone, and welcome to IELTS Insider. My name is James, and today we are going to do a kind of follow-up video to a live stream I did 2 weeks ago, where we looked at some useful phrases we can use for the IELTS speaking and writing tests. So we're going to look at 5 more useful phrases, types of phrases that we can use in both the IELTS speaking and writing. And during today's lesson, you can be free to write some example sentences in the chat, and I will give you some feedback on those sentences. Please, everyone, remember to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already. And for those of you that are not watching the lesson live, you can ask any questions in the comments in the YouTube video. So today's topics, I'm going to be giving some background. Then we'll go straight into the 5 other tips or the 5 useful phrases. We'll have some time for questions and answers. And at the end of today's lesson, we will be giving some homework. So before we get started on any of that, I can see we have a lot of comments coming in already. So I'm just going to show a few of the comments and welcome everybody to the stream before we get started today. So who do we have here today? Kavino is here saying, hi, James. Hi, Kavino. Hi, everyone from Sri Lanka. Very nice to see you today, Kavino. I hope the weather's very nice in Sri Lanka today. This would be a perfect lesson, James. Well, I hope so, Kavino. I hope you can learn some interesting phrases and then, more importantly, start using those phrases in your English speaking and writing. James, you know what? I just got home after my classes and now I'm having my tea. Okay, very nice. And from tomorrow, you'll be focusing on your sports, as August is my vacation month every year. Excellent, Kavito. It's always nice to have vacation from school. What kind of sports do you play? I know in Sri Lanka, cricket is a very popular sport. But what other sports do they play in Sri Lanka, Kavino? Layla is here. She's saying, hi, James, and how was your weekend so far? It was very good so far, Layla. Yesterday, I met some friends and we went down to see a castle and went to the beach for a while as well. So it was a very relaxing day yesterday. Thank you for asking, Layla. And how was your weekend as well? And we've got lots of... Oh, thank you, Kavino. Everyone, do not forget to like this live stream. Sleepwalker is here saying hello, everyone. Hello, Sleepwalker. And we've got lots of hellos between everyone. I hope you are doing well. Okay, we won't forget. Oh, there we go. Some lovely chat going on between our stream members. Kavino's saying he was very busy in the morning. He finished his homework and studied all subjects. Then in the evening, you went to other classes. Very, very busy. Okay. Which classes? Yeah. Okay. Lots of conversation going on between you guys. Oh, Kavino's got another long sentence here. You know what? I will engage in only my sports in August for about 3 weeks. Badminton, cricket, volleyball, football. Very good. Very good. And lovely. That's great. Yes, I agree. Sleepwalker, those activities sound fantastic. Layla is saying, I can hear and see you, James. Thank you, Layla. Very important that I know people can see and hear me. Excellent. And Hendrik is here. Hello, Hendrik. I hope you are well. Eunice is also here. He's saying, hello, teacher. Hello, everyone. Hello, Eunice. And Eunice is saying he's very interested about today's topic. Good. There should be some useful phrases we can use for our speaking and writing, Eunice, and lots of opportunities to practice today. Layla saying my weekend was busy. I think this time I spent extra time on English. Okay, so lots of English studying this weekend, Layla. That's very good. Robin is here. Robin saying, remember to like this video. Yes, everyone, please remember, if you haven't done so before, please like the video. And Lavanya is here already. Hello, James. How are you? I'm very well, Lavanya. I hope you are well too. And hello, everyone. Now, I cannot read the name there, but hello to you as well. Robin, like. Excellent. Okay, so we've caught up with some of the comments. I will be pausing the video, the lesson, and going back to the comments every 5 or 10 minutes or so. So anything that you have to say, please write it in the chat, and I will talk about it as the lesson goes on. So we're going to be talking about some other useful phrases today that we can use in the IELTS speaking and writing test. Now, these phrases are not only for IELTS. You can use them in your everyday speech and everyday writing as well. But they are especially useful for the IELTS test for a number of reasons. So, as we all know, the IELTS test can be an intense experience. It's very easy to get confused and panic. So, some of the phrases we're going to look at today can help you regain your composure and maybe help you structure some of your answers in a way that makes it easier to find your place and organize your thoughts. So this is a follow-up video. I did a video around 2 weeks ago, giving 5 different situations and lots of useful phrases to express what we want for these situations. If you haven't seen the first part of this topic, please visit our channel and you can watch it after this live stream. I have left the link in the description of this video. So once you've finished with this live stream, if you want to watch the first video again, just click on the link in the description. But in the first video, I looked at 5 kind of different ways, or 5 different kind of areas that we can use useful phrases. We first talked about clarifying the question, using opening statements, using closing statements, stating your opinion, and supporting your opinion. So those were the kind of first 5 areas we looked at. Today, I'm going to look at 5 other areas and give you a collection of useful phrases we can use for each of them. These expressions can help provide some structure to your answers. This in turn can help improve your fluency and the cohesion or coherence of your answer. And also using a variety of these expressions can really improve your lexical resource score. If you remember, lexical resource is about the range of vocabulary that you use while you're speaking or writing. So using a few different expressions rather than repeating the same one over and over again can help with this score in the test. So let's get started and look at 5 more ways to increase your IELTS speaking score and your IELTS writing score as well. So our first thing today is tip 6. So remember, we did the first 5 in the live stream 2 weeks ago. So our 6th way of increasing our score is by giving examples. So when we're doing IELTS speaking or writing, the examiner is looking for you to give as much information as possible so that they can judge your ability. Now, giving short answers is okay, but we really want to expand those answers and give details, explain our thoughts as much as we can. And one way to do this is by giving examples. The examiner wants you to explain things in detail, so using examples are a great way to do this. And I have some useful phrases that we can use to give examples. So we're starting out with some simple phrases. For example, or for instance. So nice and simple. It tells the examiner, now I'm going to give you an example of what I've been speaking about before. We can also use more complex sentences here. A good example of this is, or to illustrate this, we can look at. So both of these are a little bit longer, but they're just serving the same purpose as for example or for instance. As I said at the beginning of the lesson, it's always good to vary the words and phrases that you use. So maybe in one part of the exam, you're using for example, the next part, a good example of this. The next part, you're maybe giving another example. You could say, you can see many of the examples of this in. So it's always good, rather than just going back to use one phrase all of the time, we can mix them up. And again, this is good to show that you have a wider range of vocabulary. So let's look at some examples of giving examples. So we've got a sentence here. I like to eat a lot of vegetables. So that's a good sentence, nothing wrong with that. But in the exam, we really want to try and expand that. And a simple way to do that is by giving examples of the vegetables we like. So I like to eat a lot of vegetables, for example, broccoli, kale, and carrots. So nice, simple way to expand your answer there. Another example, there are many great places to visit in Paris. For instance, the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and Notre Dame Cathedral. So again, we're just using for instance this time, and we're just making a list of the examples to support this statement. That's something that is very important. When we're giving examples, there's always going to have to be some statement before it that we can then give examples of. Here's an example that would be more likely from part 2 or part 3 of the speaking exam. So I've got here, a lot of countries are struggling with energy bills these days. To illustrate this, we can look at the UK, where the average cost of gas and electricity has gone up by over 50%. So again, we're just using this nice short phrase here to give our example to support this statement. So giving examples I think is quite a simple way to expand your answer when you're speaking or writing. And these different phrases here are really useful to do this. So in the chat, I want you to try and write some of your own sentences. So I would like you to try and write a statement, then use one of the phrases I have shown you to give examples, and then state those examples. So just kind of similar to these examples I have given, why don't you try to write some of your examples in the chat, and I will correct them, give you some feedback, or maybe I won't correct them because hopefully they will be perfect sentences. So, while I'm waiting for some of your comments coming in, there are a few other comments. Sleepwalker is saying, "How are you?" to Lavanya. Very nice. Kavinu is saying the national sport of Sri Lanka is volleyball. It was introduced by Mr. Robert Kamak to Sri Lanka. Well, Kavinu, that's very interesting information. I've always associated cricket with Sri Lanka. I didn't realize volleyball was the most popular sport and the national sport. Excellent. Ali is here. Hi, Ali, and have a nice Sunday for everyone. Thank you, Ali. Um, James, could someone speak English fluently but in not a proper way 100%? Yes, of course they could. I would say, Layla, that most people in the world that speak English don't speak it 100% correctly. I mean, grammar and vocabulary, but they can still be fluent in the language. So, a lot of people I know that they have English as a second language, they will speak very fluently. But they might have some small problems with prepositions or articles or some kind of grammar tenses. So, yeah, I would actually say that most people that speak English speak fluently, but not 100% accurately. So, yeah, definitely it is possible. Um, I like different kinds of sports, for example, football, tennis, and basketball. So I would just add in I like at the beginning here and then and before basketball. But very good. I like to eat a variety of fruits, for instance, banana, apple, and strawberry. So usually when we're talking about fruits, Layla, or foods like this, we would use the plural for this. For instance, bananas, apples, and strawberries. But yep, very good use of for instance. Sleepwalker is saying, I love animals. Watching them in their natural environment is very interesting. For example, squirrels, hedgehogs. I can meet them in the local park. So here again, I would just put and between squirrels and hedgehogs. So for example, squirrels and hedgehogs. I can meet them. So rather than meet them, I would use see them, because meet them usually means we are going to have a kind of conversation or something like that. See them or look at them means that they are just around. So maybe I can see them in the local park. Very good. So Kavinu, cricket is the most popular sport, but volleyball is the national sport. Okay, excellent. So that kind of makes sense, because I always see a lot of when I see Sri Lanka, I always think of cricket, but volleyball is the national sport. Very good. I suppose that's kind of similar to Scotland. The national sport is golf, but the most popular sport is football, I think. Um, yes, they are usually silent. Excellent, Sleepwalker. Nice bit of humor. So we're not having a conversation with the squirrels and hedgehogs. Yes, they are usually silent. So we see them. Very nice. Layla is saying, I have a huge passion for learning English since there are many grammars are difficult. For example, tag questions and perfect past tense. Okay. Yeah, tag questions. A lot of people get very, very confused, especially positive and negative. I think a lot of people get kind of confused on how to answer tag questions correctly. Perfect past tense. It's not such a common tense, but it is quite a difficult one. And I think another way that this is difficult is because you're not using it a lot, it's difficult to practice. So a lot of the more uncommon tenses are more difficult because you don't get the opportunity to practice them enough. Um, Maybe they're just shy. Yes, the squirrels are maybe shy. They don't want to speak to you. Yeah. Excellent. Eunice is saying nowadays many countries are affected by climate changes. To illustrate this, we can look at Europe. It's so hot there this year. Excellent use of this phrase to illustrate this. We can look at Europe. Um, and then I would maybe put semicolon here. It's so hot there this year. Very, very nice, Eunice. Okay, so there's our first group of phrases for giving examples. For example, for instance, a good example of this is to illustrate this, we can look at, and you can see many examples of this in, for instance, there. So the next thing we're going to look at today is some useful phrases for comparing and contrasting ideas. This is very useful for the speaking exam, but it's also really useful when you are writing. Looking at an idea and comparing it to something else, either comparing it because they are similar or they are different. So it is crucial to know how to employ comparative structures for this. And there are also some other useful vocabulary as well. So for things that are similar or the same, we can use words like similarly or likewise. For things that are different or contrasting, we could use phrases like on the contrary, conversely, or on the other hand. And then when we are directly comparing two things, we can use comparative adjectives. So we would start with a noun, is as, then we would use a comparative adjective, things like faster, older, better, and then we're comparing that to a second noun. We can also use a phrase is similar to as well. So I'll give you some examples of these words and how we use them in sentences. So we've got an example here. John and I dressed similarly for the wedding. So maybe both of us were wearing a black suit and a green tie. Not exactly the same, but we were very similar. So John and I dressed similarly for the wedding. We've got another one here using comparative adjectives. Poland is one of the largest countries in Europe. On the other hand, Luxembourg is one of the smallest. So, sorry, not comparatives, we're using superlative adjectives here. But the important thing here is contrasting ideas, using on the other hand, meaning this is completely different. Poland, very big. Luxembourg, very small. So we're joining those ideas by showing that they are the kind of opposite meaning, using on the other hand. So another way we can do this is by using two nouns. We've got my new TV, my old TV, and then we are using a comparative adjective. My new TV was more expensive than my old one. So again, we are comparing two different things here, and we are using a comparative adjective to do that. There are lots of things we can do that with. Let's just use countries, for example. We would say maybe something like Spain is bigger than the Netherlands. Yeah, Spain is much bigger. Netherlands is smaller. We could use it for cars. A Ferrari is faster than a Ford, for example. So we can use comparative adjectives for a lot of things, but please remember when we're using comparatives, we're comparing two things, only two. So again, these are some good examples. What I would like you to do again is try to use some of these words and phrases and make some sentences comparing things. So let's see. Now, my friend and I got so what we would have to do here. So if you want to use this sentence here, um we're not really describing the verb. So we're not, this is an adverb similarly. It has to describe the verb. So in this case, you're describing scores. Scores are nouns. So we can't use an adverb here. So if you want to keep this sentence like this, my friend and I got similar scores for the IELTS exam, that would be fine. Similar. If you really want to use similarly, we would have to change score into a verb and put it here. My friend and I scored similarly for the IELTS exam. So then we are now describing the verb. So if we change scores to scored and put it in place of got, then we could use similarly. My friend and I scored similarly on the IELTS exam. We failed to draw a picture similarly. Yeah, very good. So again, similarly is describing draw here. Very nice. And again, if we were using just similar, that would come before the picture. We failed to draw a similar picture would be good. But the way you have used it, we are using the adverb to describe draw. Excellent. We failed to draw a picture similarly. James's lessons are as clear as Robin's ones. Excellent. So there we are using as adjective as. So we've got our noun is as adjective as noun. So really nice sentence there. And then we're also using one of our example phrases. For instance, they both speak slowly and understandably. I think we just need to take out they here. Okay. But yeah, your use of this grammar structure here is excellent, Eunice. James's lessons are as clear as Robin's ones. Yes, Layla, my friend and I scored similarly on the IELTS exam and Robin's ones. Did you miss that? Okay, and also we would need a apostrophe after James. James's lessons are as clear as Robin's one. I learned to swim similarly as my friend. Now this sounds a little bit clumsy the way we have used this here, sleepwalker. I learned to swim similarly. Mm. I think I would reword this sentence because it just doesn't sound smooth. I would probably just say something like, I learned to swim in a similar way to my friend. I don't think this word really works for this sentence. Yeah, I would just replace in a similar way to. Everyone expected that the weather would be warm today. On the contrary, it was very cold. Excellent sentence there, sleepwalker. So we're talking about your expectations is one thing, but the reality is the opposite. So excellent sentence. Everyone expected that the weather would be warm today. On the contrary, it was very cold. Lovely. Mike's English Lab is saying, creeping in the chat. Have a great stream. Thank you, Mike's English Lab. Al-Hassa province is the hottest city in Saudi Arabia. On the contrary, it is considered as the largest oasis in the world. So I'm not sure we could use on the contrary here because being the hottest and having lots of water, I suppose they're kind of opposite here, Layla, but I don't think they're maybe directly opposite here. Yeah, I'm not sure. Also here, province and city would be different. You would have to say here, Al-Hassa province is the hottest province in Saudi Arabia. On the contrary, I think on the contrary is not ideal to use here because it's not a direct kind of comparison. Being hot and being wet, because some places can be hot and wet. For example, Thailand in the summer, very hot and very rainy. So, yeah, I wouldn't use on the contrary for this one. Maybe strangely, it is considered something like that because thinking it is surprisingly, or surprisingly, it is considered as the largest oasis in the world. I think that might be better because it's not directly opposite, but it is quite a surprising fact. So yeah, I would maybe use surprisingly here would be a little bit better. Neki, this is UP. It's similarly to my. So again, this time we can't use similarly because similarly is an adverb. It is used to describe a verb. Here you're describing your brother's phone, so it would be similar. It's similar to my brother's phone. Yeah, so we can't really use similarly there. Remember, ly on the end of adjectives mean they are adverbs. We use adverbs to describe verbs. We use adjectives to describe nouns. Because your brother's phone is a noun, we cannot use an adverb to describe that. So be careful. I learned to swim in a similar way as my friend. Yeah, much better there. Sleepwalker. The phone's okay. So again, here, Neki, similar. So we couldn't really use similarly. The phone is similar to my brother's phone because we're describing nouns here. Amin, I am back. Very good to see you, Amin. I changed my name. Okay, so earlier I couldn't read your name, Amin. I'm sorry. I'm not sure which language, maybe Arabic, but I'm not sure. So yeah, okay, Amin. Oh, James, I guess my last was confusing you. Okay, I think just use the word surprisingly rather than on the contrary, and that sentence can be fine. Because it is quite surprising that if somewhere is hot, that it is also the largest oasis in the country. So I think, yeah, surprisingly would be fine rather than on the contrary. Eunice is saying, in my country, I would put in almost all men or most men, but not almost men. So almost all men love watching football. On the contrary, women don't. Good. So there's the opposite. Men love watching football, women don't. They're contrasting ideas. So on the contrary, very nice. You're welcome, Neki. Okay, I think we've done quite well there, but please remember when we are using the ly adverbs, we have to be describing a verb. So here I'm describing how I dressed. I dressed similarly. So yeah, be careful with the difference between adjectives and adverbs. All right, next tip is number 8. And I think a lot of you will be kind of familiar with these, and they are transition words. And transition words are used to get you from one part of an argument to the other. We can use them for a few different reasons, like adding extra information is one. But they're so important in speech because they can really improve how coherent you are by letting the examiner know that you are moving from one idea onto another idea. So they're nice little markers for the listener to understand that your speech is going on to something new. And there are a lot of different transition words that we can use, and we have a lot of different purposes. So we can add an idea. We can compare, just like I'd shown in the previous example. We can make a concession, which means that we can see the other person's point of view, or we can accept their argument or their opinion. We can use transitions to show a sequence of events. And we can also use transitions to give a conclusion. So these transition words are really important to give structure to your speech. This is really important when you are giving longer form answers in the speaking, especially parts 2 and parts 3. And it's also really useful in the IELTS writing, where you have to form a clear structure to your essay in part 2. So these phrases can be really useful for a number of reasons. They provide structure, they provide coherence, they can help with your fluency. They can also be little markers in your brain. So when you're thinking of what to say, we can use these phrases to start speaking. So I've got some examples here. So I have 2 dogs named Josh and Gravy. In addition, I have a cat called Snowball. So I have given you some information. Then I want to add an extra idea, a new idea. So here I'm talking about my dogs. Here I'm talking about my cat. So I'm just linking them together by using in addition. We could also use also in this sentence. Here is when we are giving a contrasting idea. My friends love eating out at restaurants. Conversely, I prefer to eat at home. So there we're giving our opposite idea. This one we are making a concession. So we know this is bad for our health, but we still do it. So we're making the concession that we understand the bad things about something, but we're still going to do it. So even though I know it is bad for my health, I really love pizza. So I know it's bad for me, but I still eat it. So that's what we mean by a concession. We are seeing the opposite side of the argument, or we are understanding the other opinion. And here is an example of giving a summary or conclusion. So that's why I like traveling so much. So all of these transitions are really, really useful, as I said, to give some structure to your answer. And yeah, they have their own functions, adding ideas, comparing things, making concessions, giving some sequence to your answer. With the sequence part, this is quite useful, I think, in writing because quite a lot of time you're giving a lot of information. Maybe you're giving some reasons, and there's 3 or 4 reasons. That could be a good thing to do. Also, in part 2 of the speaking exam, when you have to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes, it's quite good to get your answer structured in a way like first thing, second, final. So that can be very useful, and also conclusions are always useful. So let's see what we are going to look at. Um, So, Layla's saying she studied hard for the IELTS exam. Conversely, the result of her. So, again, I don't think we're using this correctly here because it's not the exact opposite, studying hard. I would, for this one, this situation here is quite disappointing. So instead of conversely, I would use here disappointingly. So she studied hard for the IELTS exam. Disappointingly, the result of her exam, the result of her exam was 4.5 or band 4.5. Okay, BB is saying, I love pizza. On the other hand, I hate rice. Very good. So we've got something we like, something we don't like. So there's the opposite we can use on the other hand. Be careful, we would probably need some punctuation in here, BB. So a full stop after pizza, maybe capital letter there as well. Almost everyone is pleased with these useful phrases. Thank you, Amin. I'm glad that you are finding them useful. Instead of that's why, thus, or therefore, yeah. So that's why, thus, therefore, all of them serve the same purpose. Kavinu. The play in the theatre was long, hence the audience spent a lot of time there. So there's a new transition word that we are using, hence meaning similar to so or therefore as well. So, yep, this is another nice transition word we can use. Excellent sleepwalker and a perfect sentence. Even though I studied well for the exam, I blew it. So very good. So we're using even though to understand this situation, but the result was different. Very nice sentence, Amin. Apart from my dog, I have got 2 cats. Okay, so I'm not sure, Kavino, what language point we're trying to use here, or if you're just giving some information. So yeah, that's nice. So you've got 2 cats and 1 dog. Okay. And BB's saying, therefore, I will unsubscribe to your channel. Okay. So there is a conclusion. Very good. I use my laptop for studying English. In addition, I use my smartphone for the same purpose. Very good there. Now, I think rather than saying smart cell phone, we would just usually say smartphone. I use my smartphone. Very nice. Even though I have not read this book, I am aware that it is a masterpiece. Okay, so something maybe like War and Peace we could use as an example here. Even though I have not read War and Peace, I am aware that it is a masterpiece. I think this is a really good sentence here. So, yeah, we're making the concession that we haven't read the book, but we still know it is really good. Nice. I plan to get a good score in IELTS. So I would put a comma here, Amin, and so that is why. So that is why. Let's go back here. So that is why. So that should all be one phrase. So that is why. So here, I plan to get a good score in IELTS, comma, so, comma, that's why I need to use these useful phrases. Anna Maria is here and she's saying she's so late. That's okay, Anna Maria. The main thing is that you are here. Okay, yeah, no problem, Kavina. You can send them on the group chat if you would like. That is fine. Firstly, you will improve your skills. Secondly, you will get new information. Oh, new, no K for new. Finally, you will spend a great time there. So this is a great example of how we use these sequence markers. Very nice, Sleepwalker. Firstly, secondly, finally. So we're talking here, we're giving a list of things that are going to happen. This is a perfect example of how we would do this. Firstly, you will improve your skills. Secondly, you will get new information. Finally, you will spend a great time there. Lovely. Teachers use YouTube to teach you their lessons in the same way reporters use this platform to publish their news. Excellent use of this phrase here, in the same way, showing that something is similar again. So that's good, Eunice. After waking up, firstly, I have my breakfast. Secondly, I take a shower. Finally, I go to my work. Very good. So we're making a list here. Firstly, secondly, finally. Always important to know that the last stage of your list, we're using finally. Nice, Layla. And Sleepwalker is saying, it really depends. Sleepwalker, if thus is at the beginning of the sentence, it would be followed by a comma, but it really depends what you have been saying before. So in some occasions, we would use a semicolon before thus, but in some occasions, thus could be at the beginning of the sentence, so there would be nothing before it. So it really depends on what you are saying in the previous sentence. Kavino is saying, I have began to study again, so I have to leave now. Okay, I will see you again soon, Kavino. Although I give a lot of attention to, yeah, but that's okay, Layla. Sometimes you're going to make some small mistakes. The important thing is, once you hear those corrections, try to take on board why you made those small mistakes, and then you can improve and try to use them correctly. Okay, no problem, Kavino. And BB is saying, even though I am too short, all girls love to chat with me. Okay, so that would be suggesting that usually girls don't like to chat with short people. So you're making the concession here. And then the other half is kind of contrary. All girls love to chat with me. Good. I read at school War and Peace. Okay, yeah. I think War and Peace was that Dostoevsky that wrote that? Russian writer? Yeah. I'm not sure actually. Maybe you can tell me, Sleepwalker. My sisters So I would say my sisters love to travel inside our country. Conversely, I prefer to travel outside my country. Very good, Neki. There's the opposite. Travel inside, travel outside. You're using conversely. Excellent. James teaches us a great and practical lesson. Therefore, we should give this lesson a thumbs up for it. Okay, excellent, Layla. You've just reminded me to say to people, please like the video. Thank you, everyone. So, yeah, If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Thank you, Layla. Eunice is saying, I love this channel, so I subscribe to it. In addition, I like every video and live stream on it. Very nice use of in addition. I think I would probably put a full stop here, Eunice, and start a new sentence for in addition here. But yeah. And subscribe, YouTube, like, excellent. Tolstoy, that's right. Sorry, Sleepwalker. Yeah, Tolstoy wrote War and Peace. Excellent. Even though I know it's very difficult, I really want to try it. Excellent use of that, Neki. So we're making the concession. It is difficult, but I want to do it. Okay. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Thank you, Robin. But Sleepwalker got there before you. I didn't see this ad, thus I missed the opportunity to buy it. I didn't see. I think the semicolon here is fine, Sleepwalker. Yeah, that would be good. So I would go with the first one. I think the second one's is fine as well. But I think, yeah, this is probably better. Yeah, you know, this is a lot of personal preference, Layla. Some people don't like starting sentences with words like so or because and. Now, there's not really anything grammatically wrong with starting sentences with so or so or and or because, but some people don't like it, and that is something that maybe you would have to think. I think when you're writing something like so that's why in a conclusion, that's probably acceptable all around. But yeah, if you don't feel comfortable with using it, then don't, and use therefore instead. Because I do know some people do not like it. Personally, for me, I don't think it's a big problem, and grammatically it works and it's not a big problem. But yeah, maybe some examiners in the IELTS test might not like it. So yeah, if you're unsure, try to go with the more formal language. So instead of saying so, use therefore. But yeah, there's nothing particularly wrong with it, but I do understand some people don't like it. Okay, I love quarreling with people. In addition to that, I enjoy beating dishonest ones. Okay, you're welcome. Hello, Sleepwalker. Good to see you. So that's why I live to go there. I live to go there. So that's why I like to go there. Maybe. I think that would be correct. Okay, some great examples there. Now, we're going to go on to another point here. And tip 9 is agreeing or disagreeing. So in parts 2 and 3 of the speaking test, you may be asked some questions where you have to say whether you agree or disagree. So there are some short phrases that we can use to agree or disagree with someone else. So yeah, I think this could be more common in part 3 of the speaking test, where the examiner might say, well, some people think this. Do you agree with that? Or what do you think about that? So yeah, it's important to know some phrases that we can use to either agree or disagree. So we've got 3 kind of ways to do this. First one is agreeing. The second one is agreeing with some parts. And the third way is completely disagreeing. So we've got phrases like, I completely agree with this statement, showing a very strong agreement. Or I couldn't agree with this more. Very, very strong agreement. We can also just have a simple one. I agree with this. I agree with this is fine. So again, if there is a statement and we agree with some of it, but maybe not all of it, we could say here, I agree with parts, but have some reservations. So have some reservations just means kind of we're not completely convinced. We have some small problems with that statement. Also, we could say something like, I can sympathize with this argument, but. So that's saying that we understand that opinion, but we still don't really agree with it. So again, this is quite a polite and formal way to show disagreement. I can sympathize with this argument, but. And then we've got some other ways to disagree. I'm afraid I disagree with that statement. By using I'm afraid, we're being a little bit more formal and polite when we are saying, rather than just saying you are wrong. I'm afraid I disagree with that statement is a little bit softer and a more polite way to disagree. Again, we could say that's one way of looking at it. However, I disagree. I think this. So agreeing and disagreeing can be very important, and these are some good ways that we can do it. Showing strong agreement, agreeing with parts, and then disagreeing. So what we're going to do in this part is a little bit different because I'm going to show you 4 opinions, and I want you to tell me if you disagree or agree with these opinions. So when you write in the chat, you can write number 1, and then you could do one of our sentences. I completely agree with this statement. So we've got 4 statements here. All children should be made to exercise for at least 1 hour a day in school. Do you agree or disagree? Number 2, healthcare should be free for everyone. So no charge, no money should be paid for healthcare. Healthcare should be free for everyone. Number 3, we need to do more to protect the environment. Do you agree or disagree with this opinion? And number 4, movies can be educational. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? So when you're writing your answers in the chat, please remember to write the number that you are agreeing or disagreeing with, and then we can use some of these useful phrases to do that. Now, Layla has answered a different one here, but this is good as well. I completely agree with watching movies on our devices, for example, laptop or tablet, more convenience. Okay, I would change this a little bit. I completely agree that watching movies on our devices, for example, laptop or tablet, is more convenient. So change that to that and then is more convenient. But yep, good statement. Sleepwalker is saying, I completely agree that all children should be made to exercise for at least 1 hour a day in school. I completely agree as well, Sleepwalker. And Layla is saying, I completely agree with this statement. Anna Maria is saying, I totally agree with number 1 sentence. Kids need to be active and interact with other kids. Very good. Sleepwalker is saying, I couldn't agree with this more. So healthcare should be free for everyone. And Sleepwalker is showing a very strong agreement for this. Now, Neki, when we're doing this, we should try to use one of the useful phrases I have shown. So rather than just saying agree, you could say maybe I couldn't agree with this more, or I agree with this statement, or I completely agree. Ali is giving another yeah, this is another possible thing that we could use rather than completely. We could use absolutely. I absolutely agree with this statement. Could be fine. And Layla is saying for number two, I agree with parts, but have some reservations. Very good, Layla. So that's saying that, yep, I agree with some of this, but there's maybe some problems as well. So very, very nice. Um, as human beings, using oil and gasoline in our daily life is important to us. So I agree with parts, but I have some reservations because we can invite other environmentally friendly energies. Okay, so Eunice, you're giving a little bit of background. Using oil and gas is important for our daily lives, but you're kind of agreeing with some parts because we have to use environmentally friendly energies. Very nice. And quite good there, Eunice, that you gave a bit of background before giving your full opinion, which was nice. Sleepwalker is saying, I completely agree with this statement. So you completely agree that we need to do more to protect the environment. Um, Yeah. For number four, I can sympathize with this argument, but it's rare. Excellent here. So movies can be educational. So you're saying, yep, I can sympathize with this, but it's not happening often. So really nice answer. Um, so healthcare should be free for everyone. Anna Maria is saying, I couldn't agree more with sentence number two. Very good. And for us, okay, I'm not sure. Is that a correction here? Important for us. Okay, yeah. And for number three, Layla is saying, I completely agree with this statement. Very good, Layla. Perfect sentence. We need to do more to protect the environment. And then Layla is showing some strong disagreement here. I'm afraid I disagree with that statement. So Layla believes movies cannot be educational. So you disagree. Excellent sentence. Perfect grammar use there. So there we've got some useful phrases that we can do when we are given the question. If we are given a statement and asked what we think about it, well, this is what we can do. I completely agree. I agree with parts. I'm afraid I disagree. So, yeah, agreeing and disagreeing can be very useful in the IELTS speaking test, as I said before, especially in part three, but maybe sometimes in part two as well. Okay, we're going to move on to our final group of phrases, and this is about expressing possible outcomes. So, we as human beings are not perfect. We are not computers. We don't know everything. So sometimes we just don't know the answer. However, that doesn't really stop us talking about it. So if we don't know the exact answer, we can still talk about possible outcomes or what we maybe think might happen. So, when we're not an expert on a topic, but we want to express an opinion on it, we can use some words that can show the examiner that we don't really know what we're talking about, but this is still my opinion. I want to express a possible outcome. And these kind of questions are going to come up usually in parts two and part three of the speaking exam, but it can also be used in the writing exam as well. When we are unsure of the outcome, we can use these three words. And these three words are could, might, and may. So it's showing that we're uncertain. We don't really know what is going to happen, or we don't really know what happened before, we're going to use could, might, or may to show that, and show that although we don't know, this is possible. So let's look at some examples for this. He could be available. Let me just check. So I don't know if he's available, but I will check. So he could be, but then again, he might not be. We could choose a new color of paint for the bedroom. So again, we're not really sure, but this is something that we should consider. It's a possibility in the future. They might attend the awards ceremony tomorrow night. Again, we are not so sure if this is going to happen, but it might happen, it might not. And again, it might rain this weekend. We're not sure, but it's possible. We've got two more examples. I may join you for dinner if I finish work early enough. So again, we may have to work late, and if that happens, then we cannot meet. But if I finish early, I may join you. So I'm not saying I will, I'm not saying I won't, it is possible. And the results of the study may shed some light on this condition. So they may give new information and help this condition, but again, we don't know. But we're just showing it is possible. So yeah, we can express these possible outcomes using could, might, or may. So again, if you would like, you can write some of your sentences in the chat using could, might, or may, and I will give you some feedback on these sentences. While we're doing this, Lavanya is saying, I completely agree with this statement, but which one? So remember, we had 4 statements there from earlier, Lavanya. So which one do you agree with? Let's go back here. Sleepwalker is saying it might happen, but let's hope never. Okay, so yeah, I take it this is something that is very bad. So maybe we're thinking about, let's say we're talking about a meteorite hitting the Earth. It might happen, but let's hope it never does. Okay. Sleepwalker is saying, I might go there with you. Yep. So again, we're saying this is possible. I'm not saying I will. I'm not saying I won't. I might. Great. I might meet some of my friends tomorrow. Perfect sentence, Layla. So we've not decided yet. We're unsure. I could have avoided it, but I made a mistake. Excellent sentence. So here we're talking about a possibility in the past. So let's say you're driving your car and something runs out in front of you and you hit it, but you think I could have avoided it, but I made a mistake. Excellent sentence, Sleepwalker. He could be in work. Let me ask his assistant. His assistant. Yep. So there we don't know if he is in work. We don't know, but we're going to find out. So he could be. It's possible. Our teacher could teach another lesson today. Let's see. Okay. So here, Layla, just take out the be verb. Our teacher could teach another lesson today. Let's see. Very good. Sleepwalker is saying, I may buy this new device. And I think this is such a common thing. When people go shopping, they look at something and say, oh, that looks good. I may buy this. So yeah, excellent sentence. We could choose another day for our meeting. Very good, Neki. So we're saying this is possible. And our teacher could teach us another lesson today. Let's see. Okay, that was the same one as before. Okay, good examples there, everyone. So, what we've seen today are our five groups of expressions that we can use that can really help increase our fluency, the cohesion of our answers, also give a structure in your head as well. So it's useful, I think, not only to remember just one phrase for each of these, but try to kind of use two or three different phrases as I explained at the beginning, that can really help with your vocabulary score on the test. So, our five things we looked at today were giving examples, comparing and contrasting ideas, using transition words, agreeing and disagreeing, and expressing possible outcomes. So, for today's homework, I am going to give you a short writing. Now, I'm not going to give you any limit on this. So if you want to make your homework short, maybe 4 or 5 sentences, fine. If you want to write a little bit longer, that's fine as well. I'm not so bothered about that. But what I do want you to do is try to use some of the language from today in your answers. So we can see the question is practicing agreeing or disagreeing. So the homework question is, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Give reasons and examples to support your answer. So our statement is, personality is more important than beauty. So you're going to have to first of all agree or disagree, give some reasons, give examples, maybe also use some transition words or compare and contrast things as well. So we should be looking to try and use as much of today's language as possible. So I would like you to write your answer in the comment section of this video on YouTube. I will give you some feedback on your answers. Usually it takes me about 1 day to give you some feedback. So yeah, I will make some corrections and maybe also give you some advice on things that you could do to improve. So yeah, everyone, for the homework, please write that in the YouTube comments section. Now, just before we finish today, we've got a few more comments coming in. Layla is saying her wedding ceremony might be next week. I will ask her about it. Excellent, Layla. We're not sure here, so I'm going to ask her about it. So it might be next week, but it might not. Very, very nice sentence, Layla. Perhaps I will buy this device. I will So here we would change the words around. I will probably buy this device. I may buy this device. Which sentence expresses more probability that it will happen? The second one. I will probably buy this device. So the only thing that's really stronger than that would be I will definitely buy this device. So I will definitely buy this device means almost 100%. I will probably buy this device, probably more than 50%, maybe, but you're quite sure. Perhaps I will buy this device and I may buy this device. We're just completely unsure. We don't know. So I will probably buy this device would suggest more probability there. Neki is saying they might be arrived. So here we don't need be. They might arrive at night. They might arrive at night. Eunice is saying thank you. Very good. And Sleepwalker, I will probably buy. Yes, that is correct. Nikki, thank you very much. You are welcome. Sleepwalker, you are welcome. Layla saying thanks a bunch, James. I really enjoyed this class. I am going to use those expressions in the future as much as possible. That's fantastic to hear, Layla. Thank you very much. So I think that's a good point to finish today's live stream. Thank you, everyone, for your input. And I hope you all have a great day or great evening, whatever time of day it is where you are. And I will hopefully see you all in the next live stream. Bye for now, everyone.